Hey everybody, Josh here, aka Sorcerer's Hat, and today I'm gonna actually show you guys some really cool like off-meta decks that are fun. So if you're kind of bored of the meta, you can take some of these for a spin. I'm gonna give everybody who made these decks credit, and there's also links to all of the deck lists in the description. They're all on Dreamborn, so if you want to check them out, do so. I have not played with all of these lists, but I've looked at them, and I thought they looked pretty fun. A few of them I have played, so I'll talk about my experience playing them. And then other ones are just pretty simple to explain just by kind of looking at them. So I will give you my thoughts on those, and we'll go from there. First up is one that a lot of you have probably seen, and this is Darkwing Ducktectives, and this is by RMB. If you know who that is, he's a professional player on Team Maelstrom, I believe. Really good player, and he wanted to make this Darkwing Duck deck, which actually I have not played, but a friend of mine has played, and he says it's pretty fun. And taking a look at the deck, it actually looks fairly solid. So you're using a lot of copies of Darkwing Duck. You're using Nick Wilde, and of course you're using Judy Hopps, uncovering clues, because she allows you to dig through your deck to find more detectives, which basically every single character in this entire deck is a detective except for Doc Bold Knight, which I guess is unfortunate, so you can't actually look for Doc that way, but you're just still gonna get a card out of it. Usually, I would say you probably will not whiff too much playing this, but there is always that chance. But I think you have really good odds to find something, right? Then you also have Judy Hopps' lead detective, which is going to give all of your detectives alert and resist, which is really going to help against like Amethyst decks that play a lot of evasive characters. But it's also going to help them just trade better. But it is only during your turn, so you have to be kind of careful and conscious of that. You can't really just quest willy-nilly and expect to have the resist too, because you won't have it. You're using the most of the things that you would see in like a blue steel deck. You've got 4 copies of Doc Bold Knight. You are using Mickey Mouse Detective because he is a detective. And if you miss turn 2 ramp, which this deck's not actually playing Tipo, so if you miss Sail the Azurite Sea, it's not really that big a deal. You're just kind of probably just gonna play Mickey, and then you can go from there, and then right after that you're in the 5 range and you can start playing things like Nick Wilde and stuff. Of course, you're running Strength for Raging Fire, running Let It Go, and then you're running lots of the Darkwing Duck action cards. So you've got the Terror That Flaps in the Night, which says deal 2 damage to chosen opposing character. If you have a character named Darkwing Duck in play, deal 3 damage instead. You are running exactly 12 copies of Darkwing Duck, a character named Darkwing Duck. So that's almost a fourth of the deck. I would say that's probably about 20%. It's not an exact, valuation, but it's about 20%. So the odds of you playing this and dealing 3 damage are, I would say, fair. Like they're not terrible, but it's also inkable. So if you don't really get the most out of it, you can kind of just ink it. You're also running 3 copies of the Ink Runner, which is not a Darkwing Duck item, but it does give you a little bit of card draw, and then it also helps you give your detectives alert in case you do not get Judy Hopps lead detective and you really need to make a trade. That's going to help you out a lot in the Amethyst matchups. And then you have the Thunderquack, which is an item which says all opposing characters gain the villain classification. And then you have it has Lay of the Land. Exert if a character was banished into challenge this turn, gain 1 lore. So kind of like a flute. If any of you were back in the day were playing Amber Steel flutes, where every time you sang a song you could like basically exert the flute and you would get a lore, is kind of like that. So that's a little neat. The thing that's great about this is that it gives all of your opposing characters all become villains. And if you look at Darkwing Duck Cool Under Pressure, he has an ability that says this character can challenge ready villain characters. So essentially you get the Thunderquack out, and the minute you play Darkwing Duck Cool Under Pressure, he can just fight anything that's ready. And That'll be great too, because then if you get Judy Hopps lead detective out, you're going to give him resist. He's a 6/8 that quests for 2. You basically need very hard removal to get rid of this guy, because like not much in the game right now is swinging for 8. I think yeah, not much of anything really is swinging for 8 unless you are really boosting it up. So it's going to take some shenanigans to get rid of this guy, and it's going to be really annoying. Now, this probably isn't the greatest deck in the world, but it's probably a lot of fun. So I think if you're playing a lot of blue steel and you're kind of bored, and you're going to set champs and you want to play something fun, this actually might be a really fun option for you. So yeah, thanks to R&B for making this list, and I'll again have a link for it in the description. Next up is a deck by Ramp King. This is an Emerald Sapphire Christmas Carol deck, kind of. I would say it's 90% of the cards, maybe 80 to maybe 70. Let's say 70, 60 to 70. I keep going down as I'm looking at it a little more. Most of the cards are Christmas Carol cards, so if you've opened a lot of Winter Spell, this deck, you've probably got all these cards. It's running a lot of boost characters. Like you've got, actually most of the characters I believe have some kind of boost on them. Some do not. Some of them, like Emily Quackfaster and the Minnie Mouse Mrs. Cratchit, are there to help you boost, just kind of like for free while playing like a fairly good sized character. The main thing with this deck, and I have played this deck a little bit, is that you are kind of trying to OTK with Tamatoa, Seeker of Shine. And this card reads, whenever you put a card under one of your characters or locations, this character gets +1 lore this turn. So what you kind of want to do is play a bunch of characters, be really patient, play Tamatoa, and if you can, boost him with Donald Duck, or you wait, and if you have a bunch of characters on board and you have Tamatoa, you play Scrooge McDuck, Reformed Ebenezer, which reads, when you play this character, you may put a card from the top of your deck face down under each of your other characters. If you do, those characters gain ward. So Tamatoa, every single time you put a card under a character, he's going to get extra lore. So one test game when I played with this deck, I had Tamatoa and I had 5 other characters out, like 5 or 4 other characters out. And then I played Scrooge McDuck, put a card under, played another Scrooge McDuck, put another card under every single one, quested with Tamatoa for like 12 lore, something insane. And that is basically like the win condition of this deck. Like, you can win through just playing the game, but I would say it's pretty hard. You really want this combo. Like, the whole point is to look for Tamatoa, prepare your board, and really like try and boost as much as humanly possible and just go to town. It also helps that he has wards, so the only way to really get rid of him is with like a board wipe, which only like a few decks are really playing board wipes right now. So unless they're playing a more control-y Amber deck, he's probably going to live. So you're going to get some use out of him, and he is a 6/6, so he's pretty beefy. It's hard to get rid of. So this is like an actual threat when you put him on the board. Yeah, it's actually like a pretty fun deck. The first 2 or 3 games I played with it, I was like not understanding it. And then when I kind of understood, oh, I'm supposed to be like really patient and just set up the Tamatoa thing and then go to town. After that, it worked great. Another card that really impressed me, and I don't remember if I reviewed this card or not in spoiler season or not, but it's Goofy, Ghost of Jacob Marley. This card actually is kind of nuts to an extent. So he has boost 2, but when he's banished, your opponent, each opponent, usually it's going to be 1, but each opponent chooses and discards a card for each card that was under him. So what you can do is you can play Goofy, and then if you have some way to get a card under him early, like if you have Mickey Mouse Bob Cratchit and he already has a card under him and you trade into something, Mickey Mouse's ability is going to let you move that card over to him. So you immediately are going to get the effect of, if your opponent banishes him next turn, like they use Thunderbolt or something, they're going to have to discard as well. So they're going to lose an extra card. But then if Goofy lives and he's got a card under him, or he doesn't have to have a card under him, but if he lives, next turn you can play Donald Duck, Fred Honeywell, and use boost, which allows you to boost a second time for free. You put 2 cards under Goofy and you can just quest for 2, or you can trade and you will trade into something and then your opponent has to discard like 2 cards essentially. Goofy gets pretty dangerous. Like he can basically be, if you do it right, he can become like a bend to my will basically. He's so disruptive, and a lot of what, you know, if you don't play him right and you just play him out and your opponent just shoots him immediately, then you're not getting any benefit out of it. But if you're able to get cards under him and your opponent is not playing Sapphire, so they don't have access to something like Let It Go, they basically are going to have to discard cards at some point. And the longer they wait, the worse it's going to get, unless they're playing something like Purple Steel where they kind of want to dump their hand, and they could just dump their hand and then use like their last card to take Goofy out, and then they don't have to discard anything, right? Which is still kind of annoying because it makes you like play around it. But I actually think this card is like a sleeper hit. It's actually really, really, really good and works really, really well in this deck. I don't know that it works well in any other Emerald decks at the moment, but I was actually really impressed with Goofy and I kind of loved him. I kind of want to play around with him more. But yeah, this is a fun deck, but I am going to warn you that like it is a little hard to play. And it took me a few games to sort of get the feel, and even then I still feel like I'm not that good with it. I've never actually played against another human playing this deck yet, but if I go to a set champs and end up winning a mat, I honestly might take this to a set champs and just see what happens, because I feel like no one will know what to do against it. They will be so confused and taken aback, because I don't feel like a lot of people are really playing this deck. So if you want something that's kind of challenging and kind of different, I definitely think you should give this one a spin. Next up, we've got a Ruby Sapphire deck that is also based around Tamatoa, Seeker of the Shine. Kind of. There's actually only one copy of it in here, but the deck is called Aggro Tamatoa Boost, and it's by Zlone. I hope I pronounced that name correctly at some way. This deck uses a lot of just kind of, I would call, annoying cards, like Scrooge McDuck, Ghostly Ebenezer. If you've played against this card at all, you know it's kind of annoying. It's already a 3/3 for 2, so it's already a bit over, like it's about statted for what it should be, but then every time you boost it, and it boosts for 1, he gets +1 strength and +1 willpower. So almost every turn, if you're playing against this, they're probably going to boost it just to get the strength and the willpower up, because it trades, and it a lot of times will take out 2 characters for free. And if you play Let It Go or Hades on it, you're ramping your opponent. So it just benefits them in the end, right? They can just sit there and boost with it. He only quests for 1, but I think that's a necessity. I think if he quested for any more than 1, he would be absolutely broken. But this is a really good card, and it's really, really interesting. Excuse me, actually, this deck list that I'm looking at has 1 of the enchanted Tamatoa Seeker of Shine and 3 non-enchanted, so it actually is running 4. Earlier I said it was only running 1, but it's actually running 4, so it is still kind of the linchpin of the deck. You are also, again, running Scrooge, Reformed Ebenezer to just try and like boost up your characters, but also boost up Tamatoa so that you can quest a lot. You're running a lot of the same Sapphire cards that were in the last deck, like Mickey Mouse, Bob Cratchit, but there are some different ones in here. Like there's Rue, which says if you exert him, you can put that character face down under one of your characters or locations with boost. I think that's super cool and so flavorful. I don't remember ever reading this card really, but like if you suddenly need to trade something like with your Scrooge, you can just exert Rue, put him under Scrooge, and Scrooge gets +1 strength and +1 willpower all of a sudden. Or you can just throw it under Tamatoa, give him the extra lore and an extra strength and willpower just for the sake of it. Pretty cool, which just reads exert, banish this character, banish chosen character. It's kind of like the Namari from set 2 or 3, I don't totally remember, which you could also, it was exert and just take out a character. But it was kind of weak. This card also kind of weak, like it just dies to like Hades, or excuse me, dies to Angel and like Fire the Cannons or whatever. So the chances of it sticking are kind of hard, or, you know, it's a little hard, but also the minute your opponent plays this, you're probably not going to play anything super important because you know that they're just going to banish it, right? So can be good in some circumstances. It will de-incentivize your opponent from playing cards, but I think if you're playing against Steel, this is going to be really hard to justify, and also it is uninkable. So it's really going to hurt you if you have so many of these in your hand and your opponent just has an Angel on the board. You're never getting one of these to stick. So that's a little unfortunate. And then you have things like Kanga, I think it's Kanga actually, because kangaroo. Kanga, Peaceful Gatherer. She has the ability, while there's a card under this character, she gets +1 lore. So you could combo her with Rue, which is also very flavorful because Rue is her son. And she already quests for 2, and she's a 5/5, so she's basically got like Scuttle stats without ward. So you could, in theory, you could play her, and then the next turn you put Rue basically like under her, and then you can boost her, and she quests for 4, which is kind of nuts. And then this deck's also running Kristoff, mining the ruins. He has an ability which says whenever this character quests, if there's a card under him, put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. And he also quests for 2, so like you kind of want to do that. So basically turn 4, you boost him once, and then, or turn 3, boost him once, quest with him, you get 2 lore, and you get to put something in your inkwell for free. So that's kind of nice. And then if your opponent takes it out, you're kind of like, whatever, I got what I needed. Another interesting thing that this deck's running is Beast Snowfield Troublemaker, which is a 3/1 that quests for 1. He has Rush, but his most interesting thing is whenever this character challenges, if he's at a location, he takes no damage. So you could, on turn 5, in theory, you could play Scrooge's Counting House, you could play Beast, you could move Beast into Scrooge's Counting House, and then take something out that's exerted, and take no damage, which is kind of nice. But that's only when he challenges. So the next turn, because he's a 3/1, your opponent's probably going to take it out. But, you know, it's not terrible. And if you really just need to get rid of something in a pinch, you know, just playing like, oh, I'm paying 2 to do, you know, 3 damage to an exerted character, right? Yeah, you can get away with that. You're also running things like Hercules, not only Mighty Leader, but Spectral Demigod, which says that if there's a card under this character, he gets +3 strength. So you could boost him turn 2, then you've got a 3/3, which isn't, you know, not terrible, especially against aggro. You could use him to just help fight off aggro or fight off dogs or something. So that's kind of nice. You're also running things like Thievery, which as a card I actually kind of like, but without you know, Shark, Maui Shark being in here, I'm not totally sure why it's in the deck. It's maybe just to kind of hold off your opponent from doing something, or just maybe to, you know, if you quest with Tamatoa and you just really need that 1 or 2 lore, you can use Thievery, right? So there is that. But going back to Scrooge's Counting House, I actually lost a game to this at a set champs because I just couldn't. I was on green-blue and I just could not get rid of these things. Could not find my copies of You're Welcome, and every time you boost, it just gets an extra lore. So by the end of the game, their Scrooge's Counting House were getting them like 4 lore a turn, and they had 2 of them basically. So if you are playing against a control deck on this and they do not have, like, they're bricking or they don't have any way to get rid of this thing, this will win you the game basically. You could put like all your eggs in this basket for the most part and just kind of win the game off the back of it. So not a bad deck, a little strange, but I think if you really want to try something new and you miss red blue as much as I do, like obviously this isn't like traditional red blue, but it does have some cool stuff. It does have kind of an OTK, just like the last deck we talked about. So there is stuff you can do with it, and you probably have some fun. You'll probably win a few games with this and really take people, you know, off guard. So this next deck has a lot of cards in it. There's like so many cards. Like, it is still 60 cards, but it's spread out. It's like a Frank Karsten deck, right? There's just so many different things going on in here. And I think basically just scanning this, I think every single character being played is a princess. Like, I don't even think there's queens in here. I think they're all princesses. Although, I guess Mulan count. Yeah, Mulan counts. I was trying to I was like, does Mulan actually count as a princess? Yes, she does. So the idea behind this deck, play a lot of princesses and profit. You have so many different things you can do. You have different like locations. Like you have Motunui. Whenever a character's banished here, you can put that card into your inkwell. So you give yourself some ramp. You've got Rapunzel's Tower, which gives characters +3 strength while they're there. You have a few items like the Heart of Tafiti, which is exert and pay 2 ink. Put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, face down and exerted. The thing that I think is going to win you the games, and I'm surprised that they didn't go more into this as like the main win con, is Queen Sensor Core, which is an item that reads at the start of your turn. If you have a princess or queen character in play, gain 1 lore. All of your characters are literally princesses, so this counts. You can also exert and pay 2 ink. You can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a princess or queen character, which if you hit a character, it's gonna be, you can put that card into your hand. Otherwise, you put it back on the top of your deck. It's also just a good way to like scry or scout ahead, right? But it can give you card draw. In a lot of instances, it's going to give you card draw because I think about 3/4 of this deck is just princesses, and it's so many different princesses. Like, I think the thing with this deck that's going to be really interesting is every single game you play, you're going to feel like it was completely different because this is not consistent at all. What I mean is it's not consistent because it's just a lot of different piles and counts of characters, and the lines are going to be a little weird. But you are probably going to really throw your opponent off because they're not going to know what to expect. It's also not very greedy. It's only running 4 uninkables, which is 2 copies of Invited to the Ball, 1 copy of Tiana, Natural Talent, which is a singer 6, so she can sing all the songs in the deck. And then there is 1 copy of Moana, Determined Explorer, which is a 3/4 that quests for 2. Which costs 3. Yeah. And then you've also got 2 copies of the Moana of Motunui. Whenever this character quests, you may ready your other princess characters. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So like if you got a trade, you can quest with all of them. Quest with Moana, they all ready, and then you can start just swinging. Personally, I would put more copies of Queen Sensor Core in here. I think that's probably how you win the game with a deck like this. Like, you just go all in on trying to burn out your opponent by just literally having characters on the board. And the nice thing about a lot of these princesses is that they quest for 2. Another thing, there's only 1 copy of Mulan Considerate Diplomat. She reads, whenever this character quests, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a princess character card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. She also quests for 2, so that's really nice. I really love this card. I actually have the Enchanted signed, and running 1 copy in this feels, I almost want to say incorrect. I would say you need to max out Mulan, because it's just more card draw. It's more card draw. It's also keeping your Sensor Core online because you're going to keep having characters to play to keep benefiting off the Sensor Core. Like, I think there is a world where you could cut some of these like higher cost princesses that there's only like maybe 1 of or 2 of, and maybe some of these actions that maybe aren't going to, be played very often, to increase the count of something like Mulan Considerate Diplomat, because I think that card is really going to like keep you in the game for a lot of this, because there is the same with like Be Our Guest. I think you probably need more copies of Be Our Guest. Heal what has been hurt. Not terrible. You do got to draw a card. All is found. Seems a little, I would say, unnecessary, just because your highest character count is 5. So you're not really needing to get up that high. And you're also running, where'd she go? Oh, I guess you're not running that Bell. You could be running the Bell Snowfield Strategist, who every time one of your characters is banished, it goes in the inkwell. That would just give you so much more ability to keep churning out characters and keeping the core online. I'm not trying to sound like I'm criticizing this deck, by the way. Like, I think this is a cool, fun deck. It's just there's a lot. And I think you could hone it in and make something like actually kind of interesting and a little competitive. But I do think if you really, really want to have fun and just really mix it up, you're definitely going to have fun with this, because there's so much going on and every single turn is going to feel so different that you kind of just play to whatever's happening. You don't have to think ahead. You're just like, keep going, keep the core online, play things. My opponent has no idea what's going on. Even if I don't know what's going on, my opponent sure doesn't know what's going on, right? So it's pretty cool deck. I actually might try this at some point and just see kind of what happens, because it seems kind of neat and kind of fun. So that is Princess Power. Next are 2 decks by my good friend Chris, who's a local of mine, who I asked him for jank. I said, I need some jank. He said, I got you. He sent me a bunch of lists. I took 2 of them. Just the ones that I thought were maybe the more interesting ones, because some of them, you could argue, you know, they don't look too janky. They look a little like, oh, it's you know, it's Ruby Amethyst, but it's kind of more an aggro list. It's like, okay, that's not janky enough. I need like crazy stuff that you're not going to expect. So I picked this one. This is a Powerline deck. It is Ruby Sapphire. I almost said Ruby Amethyst again. The main thing you are wanting to do is get Powerline out and just start singing songs. I believe there's an infinite, not an infinite, but a near infinite combo you can do with this, with Nothing We Won't Do, in which you can basically like keep readying your characters over and over again, and they can keep singing songs like Down in New Orleans or A Pirate's Life. They can do other stuff, and if you get a few off, you can play all these Lilos basically for free. Because the Lilo causing an uproar, basically it's every time you play like 3 actions in a turn, you can play her for free. And she's a 4/4 that quests for 2. I've seen people who do this play like 3 of them in one turn, because you don't have to do it for every single one. If you pass the threshold and you've got 3 of these in your hand, you just whoop, play them all, and you're good. You also have got Pete, Ghost Christmas Future for the card draw. You've got Maui, because every time, if you get the Maui Shark out and you've got Powerline and you manage to keep singing songs and keep drawing cards, every time you do it, you're getting a lore. You are going to, if you actually pull this off though, you are going to annoy your opponent to no end, because you're going to be sitting there just exerting and unexerting and exerting and unexerting and drawing and looking and doing things. You're going to drive them nuts. But there are fail states, I believe, with this deck. It's kind of neat. It's kind of fun. Most of the time, though, I think you're going to brick, to be fair. But if you really, really want to throw caution to the wind and play something just absolutely crazy that can theoretically do mind-blowing things, Red Blue Powerline is a deck that you can play. Okay, so the last deck is also by my good friend Chris. I asked him for Blurple Aggro, and he delivered. This deck will definitely catch people off guard, because they will see the colors you're playing and they will expect ramp. There's only a little bit of ramp in like Ichabod Crane. They will expect all sorts of things, but you're just playing Chromacon, you're playing Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom, you've got Scuttles, you've got Hades, you've got Yzma to help draw you cards, you've got Genie, you got White Rose to help with the burn. You got Pocahontas to just profit off all of these 2 questers like Miko and Christopher Robin. And you've got Diablo to also help you draw cards. Again, you have Scuttle, who can help you close out the game. And you've got Creeper to just like really play to try and threaten closing out the game. This deck actually doesn't look that bad. He told me it's very bad, but I actually think you probably could win a fair amount of games with this if you play it right. So I think it's probably not terrible. If you are going into a very control heavy meta, let's say that your local meta is a lot of green blue, I feel like this deck will probably smoke them if they don't play their Clarabelles right and delete your Chromacons, if they don't board wipe correctly, if they don't, you know, do the kinds of things they need to do to win the game. I think you could just run away with the game. That being said, I think one under the sea probably will end your run. But, you know, why not? Take a shot. Play this. I think it actually looks kind of fun. I'm not a huge aggro player, but I actually think this looks kind of fun. Like I would try it out just to say, screw it, let's see what happens. Let's throw caution to the wind and just play for the vibes today, right? So yeah. Again, thanks to Chris for giving me all the lists and all that stuff. And then again, thank you to everyone who makes cool lists and puts them up for public on Dreamborn. We all appreciate you, especially when we do not want to play meta decks and we want to get outside of that and just have some fun. Anyway, that is going to do it for me in this video. Remember to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And if any of you are going to Indianapolis for the DLC, I will be there. I will also be at D23, and I will be at the Last Chance Qualifier event in Anaheim, California in August. So if you see me at any of those events, please say hello. I will have stuff to give out if you come say hi to me. Like if you want to play Pack Rush or anything, get a picture. It's all good. You will not be bothering me, I promise. But yeah, so I hope you all have a good day. Bye. Love you.